This woman is sunbathing, but her husband insists on going swimming alone. At first, Yulia thinks nothing of it, but when she wakes up from a nap, her husband is nowhere to be found. 3 hours have passed. Panicked, she asks a nearby couple if they've seen him, but they say they haven't seen anyone else. Yulia's unease grows. Her husband's phone is missing too. Desperately, she dials his number, but no one answers. She rushes back to shore and immediately contacts the rescue team, fearing her husband drowned. She shows them his photo. Realizing the situation might be serious, the team launches a full-scale search of the surrounding waters, but hours pass with no sign of Alexander. With no results, Yulia heads to the police, but when she tells her story, the officers laugh. The currents here are calm, the water is shallow. No one has ever drowned in this area, and even if something had happened, a body would have turned up by now. Back at the hotel, the phone suddenly rings. Yulia jumps to answer, hoping it's her husband, but it's just a telemarketer. Her worry grows. They were supposed to be celebrating their 5th anniversary, not facing a nightmare. She waits by the beach all night, hoping for a miracle. But after 6 long months, with no progress from the police, Yulia, who works as a university professor, has no choice but to return to her job. But fate plays a strange game. One day in class, a new student walks in. It's David, the lifeguard who once helped search for her husband. Turns out, he was a summer worker on the island and is now enrolled at her university. David expresses sympathy that her husband is still missing, but from that day on, he starts approaching Yulia, finding reasons to talk, eat together, even inviting her to a concert. Yulia quickly sees through it. David likes her, but she refuses to betray her missing husband and firmly tells David she's married and off limits. That night, as she rewatches old videos of her husband, she spots something strange. A woman in red appears near him in multiple clips. No obvious intimacy, but there's something in their eyes. This mysterious woman works at his company, but Yulia has never heard her name. The next day, she shows the video to a friend who was at the same party. Her friend vaguely remembers the woman, said she and Alexander seemed close, even arrived together, but nothing inappropriate happened. Trying to calm Yulia, the friend insists it's just normal workplace interaction. Yulia tries to believe it, but later that night, just after a shower, she receives a call from the police. A male body has been recovered from the sea. They ask her to come and identify it. She rushes to the station the next morning, but when the sheet is pulled back, it's not her husband. A detective then suggests her husband didn't drown at all. In fact, he might have run off with another woman. It's happened before, he claims. Yulia is furious. She insists her husband would never do that. They've been in love for 5 years, but deep down, doubt creeps in. That woman in red haunts her thoughts. She reopens her husband's laptop and goes through every photo. Sure enough, the mysterious woman appears again and again, and the closer she looks, the more unsettling it becomes. In every shot, the woman's gaze is fixed on Alexander, with an intensity that feels less like love and more like hate. Yulia begins checking her husband's clothes, and sure enough, she finds a receipt for a pricey necklace tucked inside one of his suits. But the problem is, she's never received such an expensive gift from him. Clearly, it was meant for someone else. Without wasting time, Yulia rushes to the bank to check his recent expenses, but the clerk says such information requires the account holder to be present. Frustrated, she returns home, but doesn't give up. She digs through their storage room and finds an old box filled with unfamiliar items and a thick photo album. Oddly, inside the album, she finds an old newspaper clipping. It reports a tragic car accident from years ago. A famous athlete named Sergey was driving with his family when a truck hit them. Both parents died on the spot. Only a pair of twin daughters survived. But the strange part? A young version of her husband appears at the crash scene. Before she can make sense of it, the doorbell rings. A tall, imposing investigator appears. He informs her that Alexander is suspected of financial fraud. Police now believe he didn't go missing. He fled. The agent asks for Yulia's cooperation in the case. Yulia is stunned. Her husband never mentioned anything about work. She barely manages to see him out the door, overwhelmed by the avalanche of secrets. Desperate for answers, she invites one of Alexander's co-workers to a cafe to dig deeper. Just like the agent said, it turns out Alexander really was involved in a major scam, and now the entire company is under investigation. Yulia shows a photo of the mysterious woman, but the co-worker knows little about her. Apparently, they were just superior and subordinate. She resigned 6 months ago, and no one knows where she went. Refusing to give up, Yulia searches online and finally tracks down the woman's new workplace. But just as she's about to leave, someone rings the doorbell again. It's David. He wastes no time and confesses his feelings for Yulia, but she rejects him once more. With so many doubts about her husband's disappearance, she's in no shape to start something new. Still, David doesn't take it personally. Instead, he offers to help investigate. Yulia, now desperate for a partner, agrees. The two form an unlikely team and get to work immediately. That night, they drive to the woman's workplace. After waiting 2 hours, they finally see her leave. She gets into a jeep and they tail her to a pharmacy. David disguises himself and follows her inside. She buys some medications and a syringe, then leaves in a hurry. Strangely, she then stops by a men's clothing store and buys a sweater. Is it for Alexander? Curious. They trail her all the way to a villa on the outskirts of town, but it's late. David tells Yulia to wait until morning. He's got a plan. The next morning, David drives back to the neighborhood. He lets the air out of his tire, grabs a spare, and rings the woman's doorbell. She opens the door. He says his car broke down and asks to borrow a jack. After hesitating, she brings one out, but keeps a close eye on him through a small window. Luckily, David keeps his cool and finishes in 5 minutes. As he's returning the jack, the woman surprises him by inviting him in to wash up. He gladly accepts. It's the perfect chance to peek inside. Once inside, he observes the place carefully. Everything suggests only one resident, a woman, no trace of any man. Just as he's about to leave, she invites him to stay for tea. David plays along, claiming his parents are looking to buy a house nearby, which is why he's in the area. They chat casually. His charm and humor quickly win her over. As he leaves, they even agree to grab dinner sometime. David immediately returns to Yulia with all the details. He suspects the woman isn't dangerous after all, but Yulia doesn't buy it. Her gut tells her something is off, and she's convinced this woman knows exactly what happened to her husband. To ease Yulia's concerns, David heads back to the woman's house. He helps her grill lamb skewers, waiting for the right moment. Then, he excuses himself to use the restroom and sneaks around the house. While exploring, he hears strange noises coming from a locked room. Just as he calls out, the woman walks in and casually invites him back to eat. After dinner, while David plays with a trophy, the woman suddenly snaps. Realizing her outburst, she quickly explains the trophy holds great sentimental value. To change the mood, she invites David to practice shooting with her. But while they're focused on target practice, a woman in a wheelchair, dressed in black, secretly sneaks into the storage room at the back of the villa. Later that night, after David leaves, the woman notices the door to her secret room is ajar. She rushes in and furiously confronts her sister. Turns out, the woman in the wheelchair is her twin. Worried her plan might be exposed, the older sister drags her sibling away from the room. Meanwhile, David updates Yulia. He's convinced someone is locked inside that room. He also mentions the name Sergey written on the trophy, instantly triggering Yulia's memory. She rushes to the box her husband left behind and pulls out the old newspaper. It covers the tragic death of an athlete named Sergey and his wife. The only survivors? Twin daughters. Now it's clear, the mysterious woman must be one of them. Yulia finds an old car crash photo. Her in-laws in-laws and young husband were also present. But how does this all connect to his disappearance? To find out, she and David return to the villa. While the woman is away at work, they sneak into the yard. But just as David is about to enter the house, the woman unexpectedly drives back. They flee. With few options left, David suggests using charm. He texts the woman and invites her out dancing. The plan works. As they hit the club, Yulia sneaks into the house. She climbs to the roof, tapes the window, and smashes her way inside. There, she meets the wheelchair-bound sister, who shows no hostility. She already knows why Yulia is here and leads her straight to the basement. Along the way, she reveals the full story. Years ago, their family vacation turned into tragedy when their father, momentarily blinded by a kite, slammed the brakes, only to be rear-ended by a truck. The parents died instantly. Only the twin sisters survived, but one of them lost the use of her legs. The person responsible? Yulia's husband, just 6 years old at the time. The elder sister never let go of that grudge. When she finally got a job at his company 6 months ago, she seduced him, and he fell instantly. Now, he's imprisoned in the basement. Yulia rushes to free him, but the room is sealed with a heavy steel door, triggered by a silent alarm. Meanwhile, back at the bar, David heads to the restroom. The woman receives the alert. Realizing she's been played, she storms out and rushes home. Back at the villa, just as Yulia finds the hidden door and calls for her husband, the woman returns. When Yulia wakes up, she's locked in a secret room, face to face with a bearded, exhausted man. As her eyes adjust, she realizes it's her husband, missing for 6 long months. But after being locked up for so long and drugged repeatedly, Alexander's mind is clearly unstable. Under Yulia's pressing questions, he finally reveals the truth. The moment he met the twin sister, he fell for her. Desperate to run away with her, he waited for the perfect chance. During their seaside vacation, that day, while Yulia was fast asleep, he took his phone, sealed it in a waterproof bag, and swam across to the other side of the island, where the woman was already waiting. He was completely obsessed, but as soon as they checked into a hotel, she drugged his drink, then dragged him to the car. Fearing the dose wasn't strong enough, she even injected him with something before driving him to the remote house and locking him up in the underground room. For the past 6 months, she's been torturing him, physically and mentally, for revenge. Now, she says it's time to end things. She gives him a gun and demands that he kill Yulia, so she too can feel what it's like to lose someone she loves. Only then, she says, will they be even. Otherwise, both of them will die. But the wheelchair-bound sister sees everything. Desperate to stop her twin, she calls the police and grabs the trophy before rolling outside to talk sense into her. She pleads. Alexander was just 6 years old when the crash happened. It wasn't his fault. But her sister, blinded by hatred, forces Alexander to pull the trigger. Just then, the sister smashes the trophy on the ground to buy time. At the critical moment, David arrives and rushes in to stop her. A struggle breaks out. David pins her down, but she bites his hand and breaks free, then fires a shot, hitting him. In the chaos, Alexander pushes her back. The floor gives way, and she falls into a deep pit. Police arrive moments later. Alexander is arrested for financial fraud. David survives the gunshot, fortunately not life-threatening. When they recover the woman's body, she's frozen solid. A year passes. Yulia and David are now a couple, raising a lovely baby together.